helped make the Trump revolution.
Donald Trump calls me. Secretary says, Donald Trump would like to talk to you, Mr. Jones. You'd like to talk to him? Yes, boom.
While Jones has boasted of his contact with the president on his radio show, he downplayed it in his interview with us, claiming the mainstream media, or MSM, has exaggerated their connection.
I think my influence on Trump is way, way lower than what MSM has said.
Well, what kind of access do you have?
He's just called sometimes and, talked about politics or thanked me, stuff like that. That's it.
Would you describe yourself as friends?
No.
Friendly?
Sure.
And how many times has he called you?
I don't want to get into all that.
What is it, do you think, about Alex Jones that President Trump finds so amazing?
That's a scary question.
Charlie Sykes is a conservative writer and contributor to NBC News. He's been critical of President Trump.
Obviously, there's a conspiratorial turn in the president's thinking and his imagination, and those darker impulses are fed into by Alex Jones.
Jones speaks to his listeners for hours a day, 6 days a week. His rants can be vulgar and hate-filled, like this one directed at a member of Congress.
Schiff looks like the archetypal, and there's something about this fairy hopping around, bossing everybody around, trying to intimidate people like me and you. I want to tell Congressman Schiff and all the rest of them, you want to sit here and say that I'm a Russian? You get in my face with that, I'll beat your ass, you son of a bitch.
Jones began developing his conspiracy theories as a teenager. He grew up the oldest child of a dentist and a homemaker, and went to high school in Austin, Texas.
I read a lot of history books when I was a kid, and I also had family that was educated. So, I just knew how things actually worked versus what the news was saying sometimes.
After a brief stint in community college, Jones found his calling at public access TV in Austin. He went into business for himself, founding InfoWars in 1999. Many doubted his prospects, but he's now worth millions.
I'm Alex Jones, your host.
InfoWars makes most of its money by selling products, like male supplements.
It has just come off of me, and soon there'll be nothing left.
The main pitchman, Jones himself.
It costs $45–50 million a year to run this.
How much money is being made?
Well, the money that's made is pretty much put back into things.
Jones uses that money to spread his message, a message that has caused enormous pain.
What he has done is he has injected this sort of toxic paranoia into the mainstream of conservative thought in a way that would have been inconceivable a couple of decades ago. We're talking about somebody who traffics in some of the sickest, most offensive types of theories.
At the top of that list is Jones's outrageous statement that the slaughter of innocent children and teachers at Sandy Hook Elementary School, one of the darkest chapters in American history, was a hoax.
I lost my son. I buried my son. I held my son with a bullet hole through his head.
Neil Heslin's son Jesse, just 6 years old, was murdered, along with 19 of his classmates and 6 adults, on December 14th, 2012, in Newtown, Connecticut.
I dropped him off at 9:04. That's when we dropped him off at school with his book bag. Hours later, I was picking him up in a body bag.
Alex Jones repeatedly claimed that the shooting never happened. Here he is on InfoWars in December 2014.
But it took me about a year with Sandy Hook to come to grips with the fact that the whole thing was fake.
You said the whole thing is a giant hoax. How do you deal with the total hoax? It took me about a year with Sandy Hook to come to grips with the fact that the whole thing was fake. I did deep research, and my gosh, it just pretty much didn't happen.
At that point, and I do think there's some cover-up and some manipulation, that is pretty much what I believe. But then I was also going into devil's advocate, but then we know there's mass shootings and these things happen. So, again...
But you're trying to have it always, right?
No, I'm not.
If you wrongly went out there and said it was a hoax, that's wrong.
But what I already answered your question was, listeners and other people are covering this. I didn't create that story.
But Alex, the parents, one after the other, devastated. The dead bodies that the coroner autopsied.
And they blocked all that, and they won't release any of it. That's unprecedented.
All of the parents decided to come out and lie about their dead children.
I didn't say that.
What happened to the children?
I will sit there on the air and look at every position and play devil's advocate.
Was that devil's advocate? The whole thing is a giant hoax. The whole thing was fake.
Yes, because I remember even that day, if I go back from memory, then saying, but then some of it looks like it's real. But then what do you do when they've got the kids going in circles in and out of the building with their hands up? I've watched the footage, and it looks like a drill.
When you say parents faked their children's death, people get very angry.
Yeah, well, I know, but they don't get angry about the 500,000 dead Iraqis from the sanctions, or they don't get angry about all the
That's a
illegals pouring
dodge.
in. No, it's not a dodge. The media never covers all the evil wars it's promoted, all the
That
big
doesn't
things.
excuse what you did and said about Newtown. You know it.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference. I looked at all the angles of Newtown, and I made my statements long before the media even picked up on it.
In our interview, we asked Jones numerous times what he now believes, and he never completely disavowed his previous statements.
I tend to believe that children probably did die there. But then you look at all the other evidence on the other side, I can see how other people believe that nobody died there.
Of course, there is no evidence on the other side. After President Trump took office, the Newtown Board of Education wrote to him, imploring the president to try to stop Jones and other hoaxers like him, saying Jones continues to spread hate and lies towards our town. Almost 4 months later, according to the board chairman, the president has yet to respond. The lies about Sandy Hook have had real-world consequences. Just this month, a Florida woman was sentenced to 5 months in prison for sending death threats to a Sandy Hook parent. Her defense attorney says she was primarily motivated by InfoWars. Other victims' family members have been harassed or threatened too. The families say that Jones's words have caused lasting pain, and they fear the harassment will continue.
You know, it's disrespectful to me, or in fact, I did lose my son, and the 26 other families lost somebody, and I take that very personal.
You know, this piece is going to air on Father's Day.
Correct.
What is your message to him?
But I think he's blessed to have his children to spend the day with, to speak to. I don't have that.
Hate everybody.
The consequences of Jones's actions are not limited to Sandy Hook.
Pizzagate, as it's called.
So there you see that Megan spent more than half the interview on this Sandy Hook nonsense. Okay, and there are a lot of discrepancies. And there's a man, look up this name, Wolfgang Halbig. I don't know why Alex didn't bring this name up. Steve Pachenik. Look up these names. And these are very, very high influential people that know a lot of stuff. Halbig was into school safety. They didn't follow protocol at Sandy Hook. There was no paramedics brought in. They seemed to already be prepared for this incident. Okay, it was very abnormal, the behavior of law enforcement, the behavior of the those running the town, okay, this whatever they call it, Newtown, okay, it was very suspicious. They wouldn't answer any questions. There was a former FBI agent there that was trying to get information, and they were just tight-lipped. There was just no discussion. They just didn't want to talk about it. There was footage of what was supposed to be one of the parents that was preparing himself to go before the camera and rehearsing in his mind what he was going to say. You could see that it was staged. It was a staged incident. So there is one reason after another. Now, this could have been a setup, okay? A setup to make people look crazy. No matter what happened there at Newtown, I mean, a setup, I'm saying it could very well have all happened. I mean, there could be a lot of dead children at the hands of the guy, the disturbed man, the autistic man, whatever his name was. I typically don't remember the murderers. You know, I try not to. But whoever this kid was, he goes to the school and kills a bunch of kids. But often they can let these things happen or just use a tragedy like this to their benefit. You know, Obama could have put the word out, say, hey, look, let me know. We're going to handle this one differently. I'm trying to get some propaganda out there. Propaganda has now been legalized. So understand what we're up against this country. That is an assault, an affront against First Amendment. When you get rid of the ban on propaganda, and what Tom Brokaw did is propaganda, to label Alex Jones without an iota of evidence, okay, not a modicum of evidence of Alex Jones being a racist, to do that, that's evil, okay? If evil propaganda, evil besmirching of character, evil defamation of character, this is what's going on here. Do you understand? So there is a lot of protocol that was not followed at Sandy Hook that would have been followed at any other mass casualty school shooting. That's a matter of fact. I know that from all sorts of corroborating information. From people that don't like to be treated like a mushroom, kept in the dark and fed crap. Okay? And that's what what's going on. We all know the mainstream media reads off a script. Even your local news, if it's national news, international news, they're all reading off the same script. And so they say Alex Jones is wrong. You'll hear Megyn Kelly say how bad Alex Jones is to just get articles in from the internet and start reading off those, not having vetted the articles. Well, you've got to trust somebody. And if Alex Jones and his crew trust the source of the information, they know that they vetted it, or they wouldn't have released it because they don't want to get sued for defamation of character. If you're putting out lies, that's all possible that you can be sued. This propaganda, this lift on the propaganda, just allowed these lies to go unchecked because people are reluctant to sue somebody and say, well, now that they've legalized propaganda, what are my odds of winning a defamation lawsuit? So I'm going to play another clip here, try to play the rest of it, but I might have to stop it again to comment.
Is a rabbit hole that is horrifying to go down. Now,
In 2016, Jones promoted a conspiracy theory known as Pizzagate. InfoWars claimed a child sex ring was being run by Democrats out of a number of businesses, and specifically pointed to a Washington, D.C. pizzeria.
you got to go to Infowars.com and actually see the photos and videos inside these places.
Jones encouraged his listeners to investigate the case themselves. And one did, bringing a semi-automatic rifle to the shop and firing several rounds. No one was hurt, and the shooter was arrested. The pizza shop owner wrote a letter asking Jones to apologize. Facing the possibility of a lawsuit, he did.
We regret any negative impact our commentaries may have had on Mr. Alifana's comic ping pong or its employees.
Another apology came just this spring. Chobani Yogurt sued Jones after InfoWars fanned the lie that Chobani employees committed a sexual assault in Idaho.
On behalf of Infowars, I regret that we mischaracterized Chobani.
You misstated facts about Chobani and its owner, which you could have found out if you just had a reporter do a little shoe leather reporting, pick up the phone, call, check out the facts. You never would have had to retract that or apologize.
This is my statement on that. We know that that was basically a PR event. And what happens is you've got a year of reporting on the reported sexual assault.
All of which has nothing to do with Chobani.
Yeah, I know you're not going to let me get it out, are you?
I'm going to let you get it. I just want to make sure the record's straight because I don't want to smear the man. You are the one who said that you were wrong about Chobani. You said that.
Well, that's because they chose to go after me, and so I simply pointed out that we were reporting other people's reports that were not entirely accurate, and for that we were sorry, because it was true.
You don't sound very sorry.
Well, the media said stuff about the settlement that wasn't true.
But you said things about Chobani and its owner that were not true. Are you sorry?
I'm going to tell you again, the media really was upset that they said that there was a hoax.
It's not the media.
And so what they did.
You.
And so what they did.
Are you sorry?
And so what they did. So what the media did, and we know it was the media, and we have the PIs and the law firms, and we're working on it right now. Let's just say Chobani was real happy to get out of that lawsuit.
But the lawsuit makes clear InfoWars was the only media outlet to report the lie that forced Jones to apologize. And with that apology, Chobani considers the matter closed. Do you think of yourself as a journalist?
I have some journalists that work for me, and I do journalistic work, and I've broken a lot of big stories, and I understand the basics of it. I need to find the Lion of London thing.
In the InfoWars studio, there's no script. Instead, it's a freewheeling spin through piles of articles straight off the internet.
95% of what we cover is looking at a news article and then discussing it.
Well, but if you just look at an article and discuss it, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? If you haven't ascertained the veracity of that article, and it's all BS, and you spend 2 hours talking about it, then you put out a bunch of misinformation. I'm just trying to figure out what the vetting process is.
We all get Hillary was 15 points ahead, okay? And we all get mainstream media has got a big problem.
The InfoWars staff met have free reign to cover whatever they like with virtually no oversight. We spoke with some of Jones's employees, including Owen Schroyer. How do you, on a day-to-day basis, figure out what you're going to do?
I wake up, I look at the news, I pray, I rarely get directives from Alex or my boss. They pretty much just leave it up to me.
Is that what you consider yourself to be, a journalist?
You know, I don't like calling it that. I'm just a human. I'm just a human that's looking for truth. So I'm trying to reach out and be what the people want.
When you say people, who do you mean?
The deplorables, the flyover country, the forgotten American.
We go.